Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Rurik, Dawn of Kiev from Peacekeeper Games. So here's a setup of Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. The game is set in the Kievan Rus, which was basically Ukraine, Belarus, and part of Russia, but they were all banded together as one area during the Middle Ages. We are seeking to rule that area, and we are going to be fighting against Sviatopolk, who is always your solo opponent, and he is leading a rebellion. These black soldiers right here are normally the rebellion soldiers in the game. One of the interesting aspects of solo play in Rurik, Dawn of Kiev is that the normal player mats actually become solo mats if you flip them over, and the number of dots in the corner is going to tell you the difficulty level. So the one that I've placed out is the 1 difficulty, and then you can go all the way up to 4. As you can see, there will be more bonuses that our opponent can uncover during the game than there are on this particular mat. Typically, Sviatopolk's bonuses are covered with coins until he uncovers them during the game. The other thing that's very interesting about his mat is that his priorities are going to change. The first player marker will move depending on how he's doing and how you're doing at the end of each round. So he's going to shift his strategy to shore up areas where he's weak and to get you in areas where you're strong. The main goal of the game is to get as many victory points as possible. And the 3 main ways to do that are over here on this claim board. So the more regions you rule, the more points you get. The more buildings you build in adjacent regions, the more points you get. And the more goods you manage to acquire through taxation, through scheme cards, through any other means of acquiring goods, they will go on your boat and they will get you trade points for having the most goods. Each filled column on the boat will also earn you money, and coins are in short supply in this game, so there's other reasons to want to acquire many goods. There's also a warfare track. Whoever's first place on it gets 3 points at the end of the game, and second place gets 1, but it's otherwise not a huge scorer. The other ways to get points in the game are to fulfill your hidden agenda. So you basically get to choose between 2 agenda cards at the beginning of the game, and to fulfill deeds. They're deed cards that you can draw at the end of each round that give you special tasks, and if you complete them, you get points. The way that you get all of this done is probably the most interesting aspect of the game. Your action selection in Rurik, Dawn of Kiev all happens over here on this board, and it happens with the help of your advisors. You and Sviatopolk are going to have advisors of different ranks. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have 1, 2, 4, and 5. More advisors are going to be added as the rounds progress, so you get more actions at the end of the game. What makes action selection in this game very interesting is that your higher number advisor is going to get more priority in terms of taking stronger actions. So if you look at this action board, you get to do more stuff at the top of the column. However, your smaller advisors are the ones who are going to be able to take their actions faster because you do your actions in ascending order from 1 to 5. So a major part of the game's strategy is balancing between how much you want to prioritize doing a lot of an action, in which case you want to put out a higher number advisor, or how quickly you want to take an action, which means that you might put out an advisor with a smaller number for that particular action, especially if things in your turn have to take place in a certain order. The other interesting aspect of the game is that you are able to bribe, which means that if I really want to put out an advisor who's worth 2, but make sure that he's at the top of the column, I can just put coins with him and each coin will bring him up a level. So for example, if Sviatopolk really wants to muster some troops, but so do I, and I want to do it faster than him, I could take my 2, put 3 coins on it, and make it worth 5, thus pushing myself to the top of the column. The main actions that you can take on this board are muster, which is basically muster troops in areas where you already have them. Move, you get to move 1 troop per boot. Attack, you can attack once per sword, and note when you get down to these lower value actions, you have to pay to take the actions on the board. You can tax, so this is 3 taxation points. Here you have to pay a coin to tax for a good, which is less of a good deal. Here you can build, and here you can scheme. And the last thing I want to talk about is the scheme cards. They're very interesting in this particular game. So scheme cards allow you to take bonuses, which is great. So let's say that I get to draw 3 scheme cards and pick 1 because I put an advisor here that's at the top of the column. Let's say that I really wanted to scheme, so I put out a 4, but Sviatopolk only put out a 1, and that means that I get to scheme more than he does. So what that's going to mean for me is that I get to pick one of the scheme card decks here, and I'm going to draw 3 of the cards and look at them and keep 1. What's interesting about this is not only that I get to choose a bonus, which is cool, But note that these two cards do not have a troop symbol at the bottom, and this one does. This is key in combat, and in this way the scheme deck is both a bonus deck and a little bit of a memory game. When you choose to take an attack action, you automatically get to knock out one of the enemy soldiers in the area. However, you also have to draw cards from the scheme deck to see whether you are going to take a casualty. So let's say that when I pick my one, if I'm planning to attack a little bit later in the round, or on a future turn, I might choose to take this bonus and then put two cards that I know do not have casualties on them back on top of the deck, because then I know that I have a safe draw. Alternatively, if I think someone might be about to attack me, I can choose to put this with the troop marker on top of the deck, and that way I know that they're going to draw a casualty if they happen to choose that deck the next time they fight me. There are two decks to choose from, so some of it's luck, but some of it's also memory and careful planning. So what's pretty cool about Rurik, Dawn of Kiev is that there's an AI deck that will actually allow Sviatopolk to fight you for advisement spots. So when he puts his advisors out, these cards will guide you as to where to put them. As you're going back and forth, when it's Sviatopolk's turn, you're going to pull down the bottom card of the AI deck. The first thing you're going to see is what his priorities are, so you can tell which action to take depending on which priority he has at the moment, and then you can see the advisors he's going to place. So here, he would place his number 4 advisor on either muster, build, or tax, depending on what his priorities are in this given round. When it's his turn again, you pull the card back down, and now we know that he's going to put his number 2 advisor on either attack, tax, or tax, again depending on his priorities for the round. Once all advisors have been placed, then you take the AI card and you put it on the top of the deck. Now it's going to guide you through all the actions that you take this round in terms of controlling what Sviatopolk will do. You have a location order that's going to tell you what locations are the most important to him that's turn, and you also have a build order so you know what buildings he's going to place and in what order depending on the amount of build points he has. And again, these things are all based on his priority for a given round. So in this way, the AI cards guide you through Sviatopolk's turn so that you can get a good challenge for yourself with pretty minimal upkeep. I want to start off by saying that there are plenty of things to appreciate about Rurik, Dawn of Kiev. The shining star of the game is definitely its auction programming system. Having to balance between taking more powerful actions and taking actions more quickly is a very, very interesting element of gameplay, and I would say that that's where the heart of the game truly is. I also appreciated the effort that the designers put into creating multiple levels of difficulty for the solo game. Although the first couple of levels aren't too difficult, levels 3 and 4 can offer quite a bit of a challenge. I also appreciated the effort that was put into the AI deck. It's a cool thing that the Rebel leader has shifting priorities that depend on how he's doing in the game, and the AI cards did a good job of competing with you as you try to enjoy the auction programming aspect of the game, which, as I said, is the most important aspect of the game to enjoy. So overall, I would say that this is a solid attempt at solo area control. However, there are a few factors that made Rurik, Dawn of Kiev just fall a little bit short for me. I think the main one is that while the theme seems really cool, there's all those cool place names that I can't pronounce very well, and the art looks great. The miniatures look great. You really think you're going to get sucked into this other world at another time. That doesn't really come through in the gameplay. There's not even very much flavor text to help me connect with the theme, and that's something that for me is really important in a game. I think the lack of integration between theme and gameplay also made aspects of the game that weren't auction programming a lot less memorable for me. Outside of the auction programming aspect of Rurik, Dawn of Kiev, the game isn't that memorable. Most of the things that you do, move, muster, attack, get resources, those feel very familiar. And my last quibble is with the solo. So while I really appreciate the effort put into the solo mode, I think the AI cards are really good. I think that the fact there's multiple levels of solo play is really good. There are some aspects of the solo rules that are a little bit clunky, especially when it comes to movement and attack. In those, the way that the AI moves changes depending on his priorities, and that's something that is kind of irritating to have to look up in the rule book, and it's not necessarily intuitive to remember. The attacking rules also seem a little bit limited. Rather than vie for dominance across several regions, Sviatopolk will prefer to attack you several times in the same region if he has multiple attack points, even if it'd be more advantageous for him to do something else. So overall, I do think that Rurik, Dawn of Kiev is a good game. I think in multiplayer, it's probably a bit better than it is solo. When it comes to solo mode, they made a lot of effort, and there's a lot to appreciate about the AI that was created for this game. However, I would not buy Rurik Dawn of Kiev just to play it solo. If you're playing it multiplayer and you want some solo on the side, I think it's a perfectly good choice. But as a lone solo mode for somebody who's primarily a solo player, I think that there are better games out there. So with that said, I'm giving Rurik Dawn of Kiev a 6 out of 10 for solo. Happy gaming.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.